Welcome back, MTN Nets Podcast. Game number 82 in the books, 2024-2025 season in the books for the Brooklyn Nets. Finish at 26-56, well over their 19.5 win total. I don't want to say that's a good thing because it's not, because if they finish at 19 wins, we'd be in a much better spot right now. But overall, really frustrating season that we're going to recap. I was hoping for around 19 wins. Of course, with Jordi Fernandez and keeping some of the veterans along for too long, they exceeded that win total. But now as we sit here a little under a month away from the NBA draft lottery date, the Nets have the sixth best odds, I guess you can say, to land the first overall pick. They have a 9% chance to land first overall. They have a 37.2% chance of landing top 4. I would say it's not good enough. I think we came into this season with expectations of finishing in the top 3. I know that if you finish with the worst record, you can finish as low as 5th overall once the lottery concludes. But to finish with the 6th worst record, it just shows you that Sean Marks did not take the tank serious enough. And we'll get to all that. I went to the game today, and it was a very fun experience. I got to sit for half the game right next to where the Nets walk out the tunnel. Then someone took their seat. They arrived late to the game, but a lot of fun player interactions. I saw Joe Tsai. I chanted to sell the team at him. Joe Tsai then gave me the middle finger, so that was hilarious. That was a fun interaction. But yeah, I got to meet some players like Claxton, Trendon Watford. I actually asked Watford, are you going to be back next year? And Watford said, I hope so. So that's some inside reporting, I guess, for me. I guess it's better to say I hope so than we'll see. So I feel like Trendon Watford wants to be back. The ball's in the Nets court on that one. I got Cam Johnson's autograph. Not the biggest fan of him, obviously, but still a good player. I met Dariq Whitehead and I think Tyrese Martin. So that was all fun. And I got to see a bunch of other people. I mean, Sean Marks was like 5 feet away from me for half the game. And I saw Ian Eagle, said hi to him. He was a nice guy. So it was a good experience. I think going to the final game, especially when it's a lost season like this one, I feel like players and just everybody in general, they're more likely to interact with fans as kind of a thank you for sitting through this horrible 26-win season. So I think if you're going to go to any game for player interactions and media interactions, I think going to game 82 or the final home game is a good idea. Now, it's not the same because I know back in like the Jeremy Lin days, they used to have fans go onto the court. They would assign like one player to a fan and that player would give that fan like a signed jersey. They didn't do that, so I guess it's kind of a step down from that. But overall, it was a fun experience. It was cool to kind of see what it's like being that low. I've sat low before, but not in like the player tunnel area in a long time, so that was cool. Anyway, of course, hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like, subscribe, and let's get into it. As I said at the top, it was a frustrating season. It really was. I came into this with way higher expectations in terms of being a lot higher in the draft lottery odds. And when they made that Mikal Bridges trade last, July, whenever the hell that happened, it felt like the direction was to be as bad as humanly possible for this season. And then their corresponding moves after the Bridges trade didn't really align with a team that went all out to get the first overall pick. I mean, yeah, they weren't good and they definitely weren't trying to win as many games as they possibly can. It wasn't like they went all in and signed a bunch of veterans, but they still had 3 players in the starting lineup opening night that were 28 or older. And that was Dorian Finney-Smith, that was Cam Johnson, and that was Dennis Schroeder, which Schroeder feels like that was a lifetime ago. But yeah, Dennis Schroeder was on the Nets coming into this year. And as we know, this team started off the year 5-6, then it was 9-10. So winning that many games in your first 19, it really hurt the tank overall. And I'm not saying it would have made a world of a difference, but there's a chance they could have been sitting where the Sixers are. I don't know if that would have made up a 5-game difference to get to 4 where the Pelicans are, but it at least would have got you in the top 5. And if they had won a bunch of games with a bunch of young guys because of Jordi Fernandez being such a good coach, which, yeah, he was definitely impressive this year for the most part. I'm not ready to crown Jordi as a top 10 coach. I'm not ready to say he's going to be an all-time great, but it was a good first year for a coach who's never been a head coach in the NBA before. So I leave pretty encouraged. I often wonder, is it Did he get the most out of these guys because they're playing for their NBA lives, or is it because Jordy's that much of a motivator? That's a wait and see. It depends when we get better players, which hopefully is soon. Not too soon, though. I don't want to rush to rebuild, but, maybe 2-3 years from now, we'll find out really what Jordy Fernandez is made of. And as we know, of course, getting D'Angelo Russell back, that was a very questionable move by Sean Marks. Was not a fan of that. I'm not saying D'Lo resulted in a ton of more wins than they would have had, but still, if you ran the season with Tyrese Martin and Keon Johnson as your main point guards, you probably go from like 26 wins to probably around that 19 number. So that was annoying. Even coming into the year with Schroeder, that was annoying. So if they had gone the entire year with Tyrese Martin and Keon Johnson as the main point guards, I think they fall under that 19.5 win total. Hate to say it, but I think it's true. But overall, it was annoying. I'm not a fan. I don't like rooting for losses. It's not fun, but I tend to have to do that with the Giants and the Nets. The Nets, it's been a while. It's been since the Derek Favors draft when we were hoping for John Wall. So it's been a very long time since we've been hoping for the first overall pick as Nets fans, because more times than not, our pick belonged to the Celtics or some other team. I guess Houston would be the other one. And it was an absolute killer. That win streak they won 6 out of 7 games from January 29th to February 12th. And one of those, I think, was the Nick Claxton game winner at the Sixers when the Sixers just shut things down after that loss. And it's sad to not be in the playoffs. I wish they were, but to make the play-in and then even if you won the play-in, you would just get your ass beat by the Cavs or the Celtics. It wouldn't be that fun. So, yeah, missing the playoffs, it doesn't sound good. It's not great. But ultimately, I would much rather be in this situation than being where the Hawks are or someone like that. I guess the Hawks could always lose the play-in and somehow win the lottery again with bad odds. There's a lot of guys on this team that are free agents coming up. So we have D'Angelo Russell, 29 years old, D'Anthony Melton, never played a game with the torn ACL, Zaire Williams, Cam Thomas, Day'Ron Sharpe, Trendon Watford, Tyrese Martin. They have a club option, so I guess it's up to the Nets if they want to bring him back for next season. Same thing goes for Drew Timme, who was, of course, signed late in the season. I didn't go over him much. We'll go over players after this. I want to go through the contracts first. It looks like Tosan Iwoma's under contract for next year, so he'll most likely be back, I think. And then Tyson Etienne seems like a one-year deal, so he'll be a restricted free agent for this upcoming offseason. So going through the roster, I'm trying to think which order I want to go into. Let's go by age. We'll start with the older guys first, and we'll go through everybody's season. So D'Angelo Russell, didn't love that he was here once again. I just thought it made no sense for this team. D'Lo had some very good games as a net this year and some awful games, games where he was 2 for 11, 5 turnovers, some really bad ones where as a fan that wanted to lose, I was happy. But then you had certain games like that Rockets game comes to mind where he makes that big shot and does the ice in the vein celebration. That one was pretty crazy. So he had his good moments and bad moments as a net. There's been a lot of reports about they want to re-sign D'Angelo Russell for next year, which I'm not really for that. I don't really think D'Angelo's a winning player. I do like him offensively, but defensively, he is atrocious. And he's hit his ceiling. His ceiling was the 2019 season. We saw what it was like for the Nets, and D'Lo will never be that player again. So I kind of just want to turn the page on that whole thing. It was nice to have him back for the last, he played 29 games, but I'm good. I don't need to see anymore. I just don't think he's a player that, as I said, is a winning player. He's nice to have at times, but just inconsistent, and he does not really play defense, so I'm kind of good with that. Cam Johnson, honestly, had a really nice year. He probably would have reached 65 games if they were actually trying to win games, but he played 57, 18 points per game. That's a career high. He shot 39% from 3. That's great. 47% from the field. That's really good. And overall, he just expanded his game. He was a much more confident shooter this year. He was better at putting the ball on the ground and doing some between-the-leg step-back stuff that we didn't see too much of in his first couple years here. Defensively, still, I expected better when he came here from Phoenix, but it's not awful. I would say he's an average defender. But he's another guy who could be a trade piece. He has 2 years left on his deal. I believe the contract is in descending order or whatever for the money. So it's a good contract to kind of buy on for other teams. There was definitely a lot of interest for Cam Johnson at the deadline. The Nets chose not to trade him, which I was not too happy with, but I do think there's a chance he's traded this summer. It depends how serious they want to take the whole tanking thing. But for some reason, Sean Marks has like this really high asking price for Cam Johnson. There were some leaked rumors about what a trade could be. Seemed like the Nets wanted 2 first-round picks at some point, and that's not going to happen. It's almost like, yeah, we'll put you out on the table, but we're going to have this unrealistic asking price, so ultimately we're just not going to trade you. So Cam Johnson on the court, good season. Once again, I hate that comment about the fake fans he made. That pissed me off a lot, but aside from that, on the floor, it was a good season. DeAnthony Melton, nothing to say. Salary filler in that trade. Tyrese Martin was interesting. He had some games. I mean, that Phoenix game always comes to mind, that 34-point game or something against the Suns. They went on the road. People thought the Suns might be decent at that time. Not finals contenders or anything, but a decent Suns team. He went out there and put up 34 in the desert, and the Nets won that game. So that was interesting, but he played a career-high 59 games. He started 10, 8.5 points per game, 35% from 3. His playmaking is, it's questionable, but he had some nice plays with the ball in his hands at times, just going to the rim. There were some times where he was driving to the basket. It looked very natural, but other times where he would try to be a playmaker and just throw a bad pass or something. So he's not like a natural point guard. I think he's more of a shooting guard. He is 6'6", so he has that size to be like a bigger shooting guard. But I came away thinking like, all right, this guy is like an end-of-the-bench type of player. I don't look at Tyrese Martin and say he's not good enough to be in the NBA. I think he is, but can he be in the playoff rotation one day? I'm not sure about that one. Tyson Etienne, if I'm even saying that right. I think some people say Etienne or something, but yeah, Tyson Etienne, I'll say. 25 years old, got his first action with the Nets in the NBA this year. He is a high-effort player. There was that game, I think it was the second to last home game. I think it was the Wednesday game or Thursday. Forget who they played now, but he dove into the stands, basically. He jumped into the crowd. Luckily, nobody was sitting in those 2 seats he jumped in, but like just goes full out effort, this guy. Like he has a very high motor. He'll play some competitive defense. The jump shot is sketchy from 3. I'm not a big fan of it. Like his shooting form looks good for Etienne, but still, like percentage-wise, it wasn't that great. Trying to look now. He shot 29% from 3. He shot 75% at the line. But it is a natural-looking jump shot. He's only 6'2". He looks a lot shorter than 6'2". He's like 6'2", but he's like kind of built, so he looks shorter. I don't know. It's like one of those type of builds. But I feel like 6'2" is generous. But we'll see if he's back. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I feel like there is some upside, but he's already 25, which kind of surprised me. Nick Claxton, also 25. He had a year where you saw some growth, but also like still a bit of a letdown. This was year number 6 for Claxton. This would be his biggest role. I feel like we'll never see, I don't know if we'll never see it, but the 2022-23 season where Clax had 12 points per game and I think led the NBA in field goal percentage, and the first half of the year had his name in Defensive Player of the Year voting, in those rumors. I don't know if he'll reach that again. Like he might when the Nets hopefully get a great point guard at some point. Like if they get Dylan Harper at 3rd overall, maybe Claxton's numbers are the best we've seen since that season 3 years ago now. But his stats for this year, I mean, they were not great. The field goal percentage was down because he took more jumpers, which I did like. I mean, he took only 0.3 3-point attempts per game, shooting 23, let's call it 24% from downtown. Like his jumper from 3 in the corner, it looks like it could be consistent one day. I'm not ready to say he'll be like the next Al Horford or something, but there is some upside to it. Like I feel like Claxton's jump shot is not that bad, but we see him at the foul line. A lot of times people say you can tell how good of a shooter someone is based on their free throw percentage, which I don't love that because a guy like Joe Harris would shoot like 75% from the line, but then also shoot like 45% from 3 during his prime. So I don't know how accurate that is. But yeah, Claxton, a bit of a letdown, I will say. He did play 69 games, okay, stayed healthy for the most part. Did have that back injury at one point. I think that was early in the season. But he had his moments. Like he had some games, I think recently. He had that stretch with the mask on where he was playing great. Against Toronto in that big loss they had by 30 points, he was 10 of 14, 22 points, 11 rebounds, 5 blocks. Like he'll still do that from time to time. Like he'll have his breakout games, but it has to come in the right matchup. So I don't leave this season thinking Claxton's ever going to evolve into a guy who can be more than what he is. He might just be what he is, which is fine. It's a starting caliber center, but you still kind of hope for more. Jalen Wilson, 24 years old, recently played better, but he had that stretch like the first couple months of the season. I wouldn't say couple months because the first month was good, but I would say the middle of the year for Jalen Wilson, it got really bad at some points. He had his games where he would shoot the ball very well. In that late March win at home against the Wizards, he was 5 of 9, 20 points. Like, he had some random games where he shot the ball well. I still don't know why he shoots the ball so high. It kind of frustrates me, but I'm not like a shot doctor. I'm not a shooting, form guy, so I don't know. But just the way he shoots, it's like you just give yourself such a low percentage of that being a consistent shot when you shoot the ball that high. So I don't know if it'll be fixed, but that was kind of annoying. But I did see more from him putting the ball on the floor. We didn't see too much of that last year. I noticed it earlier this year. He was more confident just putting the ball on the ground and trying to do something. So not saying it resulted in much. He'll never be a great ball handling player or a guy with a ton of agility, but at least gives you a threat of, hey, I can drive to the basket sometimes too. Drew Timme, 24 years old, first NBA season, got called up from the G League after that 50-point game. He's an interesting one. So he's 6'10", 235. Not sure he has the foot speed to keep up with really good offensive players. Like, if you put him on an island against a Darius Garland or something, like, he's getting cooked. But I do think there is a role for Drew Timme to be a stretch 4-5. He has some decent footwork in the post on offense, but I don't know. He makes most of his free throws. Like, he's a talented player, but just doesn't have the most athletic body. So I'm not sure how they'll go about it, but I feel like keeping him around might not be the worst thing. I feel like he's a good vibes dude. So I don't know. Maybe they'll keep Timme around. He did have that game-winning shot on that goaltend against the Wizards. So overall, it was cool for him probably to live out a dream of making it to the NBA. Not sure it goes much further, but maybe he's an end-of-the-bench type of guy. Tosan Iwoma, he had some interesting moments when he first got here. He had that high-scoring game in that nasty tanking game against the Jazz in Utah. He had 22 points on 7 of 8 that game, 6 of 9 at the line. Nets lost in OT, thank God. But yeah, he had that game and maybe a couple of other games. He has a nice mid-range game. He kind of plays like Watford, like he's not afraid to just really just bounce off of guys and just go into the lane like a pinball and try to play hard. Like, he's 6'7", 217. He's built pretty well, so he has that going for him. The jump shot was pretty inconsistent. He shot 31% from 3. That makes sense, so that could be better. If he developed into a more consistent three-point shooter, I could see something happening there, but I don't know. I feel like he'd be a good player for like a 1v1 tournament, but I'm not sure if Iwoma is ever going to be a consistent NBA contributor, but we'll see. I mean, he's with the Nets next year most likely, so we'll see how that plays out. A guy who may not be here next year, but hopefully he is, Zaire Williams. Finished the year at exactly 10 points per game. They held him out this game, and I think maybe the last one too. So Zaire, actually, I did not watch a minute of that game on Friday against Minnesota. They got blown out. I checked the score at one point in the third quarter. I was like, all right, we're just not putting this on. So that was pretty ugly. Zaire Williams, though, very good defender. I was really just enthused by that side of the court. 6'9", 185, good wingspan. The three-point shot did get much better. It was 34% this year. If it's at that number, you can live with that because of how good he is on defense. You would love it to get to 37%, but it is better than his Memphis days. He did change his jump shot. His jump shot now is one of those jump shots where you kind of just jump into it rather than like taking a regular set shot. I know Russell Westbrook kind of shoots this way as well, where like you kind of just bounce off both your feet. It's a weird way to describe it, but I don't know. There's definitely a phrase for it. But he changed his jump shot from the perimeter, and it's worked out. Not much of an in-between game for Zaire. It's either like a dunk or a three, but I think defensively he's fine. He's really good defensively. So I'm not sure he'll ever develop into a mid-range scorer. I don't see that happening, but he's a guy that playoff teams need, a guy that can play 3 and D. Like, he could be that. The three part, it's a little more sketchy, but once again, if he can get to 36, 37% from downtown, I mean, that's a very useful player. So I hope Zaire Williams is back, but we'll have to see about that. Cam Thomas, 23 years old. Did not play much this year, as we know, averaged 24 points per game. Only 25 games for CT, so that was disappointing for his age 23 season. He's interesting as well because he has a contract that's up. I do believe he's restricted, so the Nets can match anything he signs. The Nets, of course, have a ton of cap space this offseason, so I don't see a reason why they wouldn't sign Cam Thomas or re-sign him, but it's always a little shady with Cam Thomas. You never know if the Nets actually like him or if they think he's a losing player. I don't know. I personally am still bought in. I think Cam Thomas can be something in this league. I've seen enough games from him where it's like he can take a game over. He's a better defender than he gets credit for. I'm not saying he's great at it. He's still probably below average defensively, but he's not the worst. He's not D'Lo. And playmaking-wise, he did get better. So I think Cam Thomas, it was his last game he played, had 10 assists. I think that was a career high. 10 assists, 6 rebounds, 24 points. If he can build off of that, he's still 23. I would bring him back. Whether it's a 2-3 year deal, I think Cam Thomas is definitely worth bringing back. He's a homegrown first-round player. Like, we don't have much of that anyway, so I would just bring him back. Day'Ron Sharpe, another interesting one. Same draft class. He was taken like 2 picks after Cam Thomas. Of course, a bit undersized at 6'9" for a center, but one of the best rebounders in the NBA statistically when he's out there. Only 8 points per game, 6 rebounds per game, but not a ton of minutes either. But Day'Ron, like Claxton, we saw Day'Ron take more threes this year. He almost took a 3-point attempt per game. He was at 0.9 3-pointers attempted per game, and he made 24% of them. So I think that was the same number as Claxton. But Day'Ron, like Claxton, has a pretty good-looking jumper. It's not that ugly, so I think Day'Ron at least is like a decent free throw shooter as compared to Claxton. Day'Ron was 75% from the line this year. Claxton was 51%, so Day'Ron is the better shooter. And he's a guy who, I don't know what the market's going to have Day'Ron as for his next contract, but me personally, I would bring him back. This team has the cap space to do it. If they go center early in the draft and take like a Malawak or someone like that, then sure, maybe you don't re-sign Day'Ron Sharpe. But if they're not planning to go center early, I would bring him back. I think there's enough there. He's still 23. Great rebounder once again. The fouls have to get under control. The fouling is bad for Day'Ron. It's his main issue. If he can figure that out, he'll be a more consistent player that you can trust to play for 20 minutes without having 5 or 6 fouls. Keon Johnson up next, 23 years old. He was a guy that I think I ran into today or got to shake his hand or something. I came into the year not thinking I would like his game because he, like going back to October, Keon Johnson was not really an NBA player. But as the year went on, he did get better at finishing at the rim. The jump shot got a bit better. I think he learned how to use his athleticism for good. I feel like maybe in the past he was a bit out of control, but now he's good at like just getting in the air, hanging in the air, and making these nice shots off the glass. Like he's good at that. He uses that 48-inch vertical to his advantage finally. This was a 21st overall pick a few years ago. So there is like some upside with Keon Johnson. Played his career high in games 78. That was by far his most. His previous was 40 with the Blazers 3 years ago. And I'm kind of either or on this one. Like if they bring him back, fine. If they let him go, then I get it. So I'm not sure what they're going to do. It depends how much Sean Marks actually appreciates Keon Johnson's contributions to this team, but I could see where it goes wrong and he shoots the ball too much and he just can never get that jump shot under control. But I do like to see the improvements. Once again, Keon Johnson from October till April, it's a different player. I'm not saying he's like great now, but it's still an improvement nonetheless. So if you think there's more there, if you don't think he's reached his full potential, then yeah, maybe you bring him back. I mean, I don't see why not. I wanted to check his contract. There's a club option. So yeah, it's up to the Nets if they want to bring him back or not for next year. So I would... It's only a $2 million cap hit, 2.3. You don't have you have a ton of cap space as it is. I wouldn't mind it. Like if they brought him back, it's like, all right, I think I would. But if they don't once again, then I'm not going to bitch about it. It's one of those things where I can go either way. Killian Hayes, I don't have much to say. I don't know if he's in like the Nets' future plans or not. He came up for a bit, averaged 9 points a game, 5 assists, shot 42%. He wasn't that bad. Like you could see why he didn't work out in Detroit, but I feel like he's a bit more under control now. The Nets definitely gave him the green light to shoot the ball from 3. It was most prevalent in the games against OKC and Portland. He had 19 points against OKC in that game where OKC came back down from like 30 points and beat the Nets. And then there was the Portland one where the Nets lost at home. Killian Hayes was 5 of 8 with 16 points, 4 assists, only 2 turnovers. So he had his games. I think he deserved more of a chance, but I guess the Nets don't see him as part of their future. So we'll see what his career turns into. But another guy who's young, he's still 23. Reece Beekman, I really have no comment on this one. I did not come away really too intrigued with him as a player. I just didn't really see much. The jump shot was pretty bad. Not much putting the ball on the floor. The playmaking wasn't there. Even defensively, okay, he had some moments, but it wasn't as good as advertised. So Reece Beekman, I'm good. I could do without him for next year. Maxwell Lewis is interesting. He did not play today. I'm not sure why. He was like a healthy and active, I believe. But he did have some moments. He had some games. I know the first game I went to this year, like a month ago against Boston, that was like his first breakout game, quote unquote, as a net. It was actually his most points on the year. So yeah, I did get to see the season high for Maxwell Lewis. But he came back from that broken leg thing, whatever he had against Toronto, and I'm sure coming back from that was a bit tough, but he did show enough where it's like, yeah, I think there's more there. He's still 22. He turns 23 in July. I do think he's a decent player, so I would bring Maxwell Lewis back. It's like he's 6'7". He does look taller when you watch him out there on TV at least, but 6'7", he can stretch the floor. He's athletic. I mean, I would bring him back. I don't see why not. His contract, he's actually under contract for next year, only a $2.2 million cap hit. Year after that is a club option for 26-27. So, of course, he was drafted by the Lakers. He was taken when? In the first round? Second round, 40th overall in the 2023 draft. But I saw enough. I'm like, you know what? Just bring him back. So hopefully Maxwell Lewis, unless he's like traded or released for some reason, he should be back. Dariq Whitehead. This is an interesting one. He had an odd season. He was a guy who the report came out that he wanted to stay in the G League. The Nets let him do that. He only played in 19 games this year, had 5.8 points per game, shot 44% from three, 40% or 41% field goal percentage, not too bad there. Well, I guess field goal percentage wise, it could have been better. Like to shoot 44% from three, but 41% from the field, that's a little concerning. Like Dariq Whitehead finishing at the rim is something we have not seen at a high level yet. There's maybe a handful of plays this year where he finished at the rim and it's like, oh, that was good. But for the most part, it's, still not part of his game yet. So I know he's coming back from a bunch of injuries and he doesn't turn 21 until August. So he's still a very young player. And he's a guy who hopefully on a team that's going to be still rebuilding next year and trying to tank, I hope that Dariq Whitehead gets to play more and that next year is the healthiest he's felt since high school. So I think there is something there. If you can shoot 44% from three, there's going to be a role for you. He's 6'6", 220, so he has enough size to last in this league if he can shoot the ball that well. It's a very weird shot, by the way. Like he shoots, it's almost like he shoots a set shot. It's like a very slow motion, like brings the ball really far back. It's a weird looking jumper. I mean, I probably shouldn't talk because I kind of shoot the same way. But Dariq Whitehead, interesting looking shot, but it goes in. Noah Clowney, the last guy, he had a disappointing year two with the injuries, the ankle, 9 points per game, 35% field goal percentage. That's pretty bad. Took a step down in 3-point percentage, was 36 last year. He was at 33 this year. I just wasn't too impressed defensively. Even the blocks went down by 0.2. He was someone who at the end of last year, like at this time last year, Noah Clowney was a guy who a lot of us thought was going to have like a breakout year two, but it didn't happen. I saw enough from him where it's like, all right, I think there's something more there. Like I don't think Noah Clowney is a scrub. I do think there is something there, but ultimately we did not see the jump that we wanted to see. Like, let's say he was here last year, he only jumped to here instead of here. Like, we wanted to see him up here. Like, he didn't get to that point. So it was a little disappointing, but still, he's a guy who is also 20 years old, doesn't turn 21 till July. There is still enough promise with Noah Clowney where I think he'll be okay. I don't know if he'll be a star. I don't see that happening, but if you can just find a guy who can be a stretch four at 6'9", maybe put on a bit more muscle. He's only 210 pounds. This is a former first-round pick, and I feel like there's enough potential. He needs to put the ball on the ground more. He shoots the ball too much from three. Like, yeah, it's nice you can shoot the ball from three, but don't let that be the only part of your offensive game. I feel like Clowney, there's more there. Like, when he attacks the rim, there were a couple times this year where Clowney might have gotten like fouled really hard or something, and you can tell he got pissed. And when he got pissed, he had like this aggression that came out, and he tried to dunk on people. If he can get that type of aggression, because he, even by the look of his face, he's such like a mellow guy, it feels like. But if you can get like the aggression out of Noah Clowney, like he can be a complete player in terms of his offensive game. I don't think he'll ever like shoot off the dribble, but in terms of like attacking the basket and shooting threes, I want him to do both. I felt like for a lot of this year, the attacking the basket part was not there for Clowney. The defense was not as good as I thought it would be. So bit of a disappointment once again, but still at that age of 20, like I think he'll be okay. I'm not really too concerned about it yet. I'm more concerned about Whitehead than Clowney because Whitehead not attacking the basket, because when Whitehead did it, it looked like his explosiveness was lacking. At least when Clowney attacked the basket, you could tell there was some pep in his step and some explosiveness. For Dariq Whitehead, whether it's the injuries or just a confidence issue, I don't know. But when Dariq Whitehead attacked the basket, it looked like he was a bit slow and timid, and I don't know. I just hope it gets better. So anyway, yeah, that's the whole roster we went through, covering the 26 and 56 Brooklyn Nets. May 12th, I believe, is the lottery day. That's a big day for this franchise. It's honestly going to be one of the bigger days in the Nets franchise history, I think. Because if they were to get a top 3 pick, I mean, that can change everything. If they fall to 7th or 8th, which I know the history of the 6th worst record, the history of that is not very good. Like, that team usually ends up with like the 6th, the 7th, the 8th pick. So I am not going to get my hopes up, but I really hope for one time in my life the basketball gods can maybe do something for the Nets in a positive way. There was a Sean Marks quote that I wanted to go over. So Sean Marks, he said this about the NBA draft. I think this was before the game today. As a fan base, you want to say, I remember when they drafted this guy. I've seen the development course of such and such player. So based on that quote, it would lead you to believe that Marks has more of a long-term view and wants to go more of the rebuilding route, which I hope he does. I wanted to say to Sean Marks when I saw him today, don't trade for Giannis. I just did not get to say it because, as I said, like the only time I saw Sean Marks is when he first walked in. I said, hey, Sean, he gave me like a nice smile, so that was nice of him, but I forgot to say the whole, I didn't know what I wanted to say to him. I didn't think I would see Sean Marks like that quickly. I thought maybe he'd pop up in the first quarter, but he came out before the game. Not too early before the game, but a little bit before the game. And I didn't have anything lined up to say. At least for Joe Tsai, it was easy. Just sell the team. That's an easy one. But for Sean Marks, I was like, do I want to bitch at him about not tanking enough this year? Do I want to bitch about the not trading Cam Johnson thing? Do I want to ask him about rebuild versus going all in? And I kind of wish I just said don't trade for Giannis, but not that my opinion matters anyway, but I feel like sometimes those things are pretty funny to say to a GM. So anyway, yeah, it was a frustrating year. I would say one of my least favorite Nets seasons, but if it ends with them getting a top 3 pick, it'll be worth it. Even 4th, I'll think I'll take the 4th pick. For those of you, I know I didn't upload as much as I probably usually do in the past, so for those of you that stuck around and watched this year, I appreciate it. I know it wasn't the most fun season to be a part of. I'm looking now, I only did 9 videos during this season. Usually I'd like to be around 15 to 20, so to only have 9 podcasts is kind of crazy, so I apologize, but I did watch pretty much every game. I probably watched about 75 of the 82. There were some I missed, like Friday against Minnesota, where I just really had no interest, because I have no problem watching a young team when there are young guys to watch that could be something, but we've seen these guys play all year, and I just didn't really we don't have any guys like that. Cam Thomas wasn't playing. We don't have a homegrown top 5 pick kind of guy that's worth watching in my opinion, so hopefully next year we get that guy, but that's a wait and see. I think next video will probably be after the lottery, because I'm sure there will be a lot of reactions to that one. Hopefully it's more positive than negative, but I definitely want to react to that. Not sure if I'll be on here before that, because I'm not sure what else would change between now and then. Of course, I hope that the Knicks get out early. That'd be nice. I think there's a chance they lose in the first round. I would say it's probably, I'd give them a 65% chance to move on, but even if they get past the Pistons and face the Celtics, I don't see any world where they get past the Celtics. Unless Brown and Tatum got hurt, I don't see them beating Boston, so I think that's a second round ceiling for that team. That's good to know. And yeah, to end the season with Joe Tsai giving me the finger, that was very interesting. Just a great way to cap off the miserable season, so it was pretty funny though. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it once again. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys next time.